We should be getting into things very shortly. I just need to move this media asset of a background, and then we should be ready to go. Wonderful. So what's today? Wednesday, middle of the week. It's a home day, and going to share the show because they should be a little bit exciting. We're talking about gold, and we are resource rich. We know we are. But before we do that, I want to say greetings to all of you who have taken your time to come and watch the show. Um, Share the show if you can. These folks are calling me. Um, our gold sector, based on everything we've seen, is about to pick up. It's already been there. We've done, different posts and commentaries on the potential, but we really need to see where it's going. And this is just a little glimpse into it. And as we move along, hopefully we get more shows. But welcome. We're excited on Business Talk with all the different opportunities in Liberia, all the young people, especially who are trying to get into business and do things, differently. Be focused, be entrepreneur, which is extremely important for our economy. Um, but today we'll be looking at Pasofino specifically, and then on the side probably Zodiac Gold indirectly. Um, Pasofino basically, according to the information we have, um, the CEO Brett Riches, somebody shared, a video with me of Brett Riches commenting on what the opportunities are. They've discovered supposedly 3.9 million ounces of gold in the Dugbet Gold Project area. That's somewhere between Tucson and Dugbet. And it crosses, I believe, Sino, Grand Cru, River G, and Maryland, and those are resource-rich southeastern counties. So let's just hear from the CEO himself and see what he has to say about the opportunities that the Dugbet mine represents. Um, Let me share this specific Chrome tab, this one. Um, Let me share it. And then I will hit play. So you hear him, right? Liberia is the best jurisdiction he has been in. And this is the man who has built 4 different mines. So he's trying to tell us that the potential in Liberia, the favorability for them as investors is huge. Let's listen to him a little bit more. Okay, so you heard him um, sharing the profitability of the mine, right? So let's break down what he was trying to say there. Okay, so he said he got 3.9 million ounces of gold. That's incredible. That's a lot of gold. Okay, and then what he's saying is the grams per ton would be 1.37. That means out of every ton of rock, they expect to get 1.37 grams of gold when they wash it, whatever process they go through. Okay. And they will do 5 million tons of rock every year. So they're crushing everything. They will pick up 5 million tons of rock and be able to process that and get the gold from it. And over the lifetime of their contract, even though they have found 3,900,000 ounces of gold, they're looking at 2.2 million ounces. So that's what we try to work with in our calculation. And they're looking at doing 200,000 ounces per year. That's significant dollars. And we look at the spreadsheet and the calculation so we can understand it. Okay. But they're not limited to the 14 years. They will probably do much more than 14 years. Now, he mentioned that the cost could be anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500. But let's put the operating cost at 1,500 per ounce. That's what it means, right? Per ounce to produce the gold. The cost is 1,500. Then he said the gold constraint, that means the price they were putting it at, the max price at the time was $2,700. But what do we know the gold price today? And we'll watch another video that will talk about the gold price being anywhere from 3,300 to 3,500, 3,300 for 1 ounce, all the way to 3,500. Then one of the important things he said was that the post-tax net present value, the NPV, the net present value, right, is 4 times the capex. Capex means the capital expenditure, what capital they investing. And he was talking about 400 million for the construction investment. That's what, let's assume they will borrow that 400 million to be able to build this mine. So when we look at those numbers, right, they expect 200,000 ounces a year. They expect the gold price to be about 2,700 per ounce. They expect the operating cost to be 1,500. They expect a mine life of 14 years. Um, and then the capital expenditure will be 400,000. So if you look at the revenue over that 14 years, that's $7,560,000,000 we're talking about. Okay, and we look at the cost based on what they say the operating cost would be. That's like $4,200,000,000. So that means the lifetime profit is supposed to be gross profit $3,360,000,000. Okay, folks, that's a significant amount of money, right? And that's why they are excited. So as I show you this other video of a panel discussion they are having with this lady, um, you know, on a program, and watch her mug. Her mug says "Make gold great again." And gold is great because right now the price of gold has been rising. You look at any chart, it's been rising. It's up to, in some place, like 3,500 right now. So let's share the screen for you to hear this interview with two CEOs of gold companies that want to do business in Liberia. Assess the optimism of doing business in Liberia. How they describing our people in terms of those areas where they will mine the gold. Um, Look how they describe our government in terms of its stability with regards to the region, because that's always a concern. Our, in the entrenchment of our own democracy, our relationship with the US. So these are all things that you should look at and consider while we talk about this before we get to discussing the contractual nature of this whole thing. Okay, so I will share my screen for you to see this particular story. Yes, she is. I hope you can hear it. Let's hear that again. So she told me the price of gold, 3,400 to 3,500, okay, for 1 ounce. So I just heard about David Cole today, but Brett Richards, I've been, researching for a little bit. He's the head of Pasofino Gold, and they basically are a company that bought shares into Hummingbird. I know many of you have heard of Hummingbird. Hummingbird signed an MDA with our government back in 2019, I believe. And we'll look at some of the arrangements in that MDA and see how we as Liberians will make out. So let's hear them. So the first thing before they go, it seems like they're making it negative that those countries are trying to take ownership of their mineral assets. And I know in Liberia, we're probably not close to doing that at the rate the other people are doing it. But let's look at that ownership, that desire for value addition, that desire for us to get more out of our natural resources to be something that's positive and that we want to go after. So let's hear him. You hear him? He said, we. He takes ownership. He shares that with us. Very interesting. Hey, Mark, you still can't hear? The volume is not coming through? Can you put a text if the volume isn't coming through? Then I'm having technical problems. Because over here it says the audio is working, so I don't know what's going on. Can anybody hear the audio? Can you drop a comment if you can hear the audio? Just let me know if you can hear the audio. Oh, you can hear the audio. Well, some people said they weren't hearing the audio. Well, I'm sorry to pause the show. But let's continue with Zodiac Gold CEO explaining about. Let's hear that again because this part is critical. We're discussing Mining Act. So you hear that they're looking at these different fees, these different rates, which is very critical for us because typically we have undersold our value. The rates we negotiate, whether it's royalty, whether it's equity, whether it's local content, typically is lower than what international standards are or what other countries are charging or expecting to get from the natural resources. But let's continue. Kiman, can you hear me? Which is it? There's no audio, there's audio because Peterson Goba says it's loud and clear, but you say there's no sound on the audio. So, Kiman, can you hear me, Kiman? Because this is some interesting stuff. I would hate for people to be deprived of not hearing the sound. So, Kiman, if you can hear the sound, um, let me know if you can hear me and you can hear the audio from the YouTube video that we're trying to play. Peterson, can you still hear me and could you hear the video from the stuff? Because you said before it was loud and clear. What Kima is saying is not. And I see, several people out here listening. If anybody can just share the information on whether they can hear this or not. So you know what? Let me just go to Facebook myself and see whether I can hear myself or I can hear myself. Whether I can hear myself or I can hear myself. Okay, so the sound is coming through. Let me test this. I can hear myself or I can hear myself. The sound is coming through. Let me test this. I can hear myself. I got you guys. Thank you. So, um, Unfortunately, we can't hear the audio. But let me try to narrate. Basically, these guys are saying they find Liberia a wonderful opportunity to be in. Okay, the atmosphere is democratic, is receptive, nice connection with the United States, which we all know, and they understand from what they're saying that the contract or the concession that we have negotiated is not of international standards, and that's why we're supposed to be looking at the different, rates and everything like that. So let me just go to the analysis, because this guy who's on the screen right now, he's the CEO, Brett Richards of Panofio Gold. They have a nice deposit, like they said. I'm gonna share the spreadsheet so we can just kind of walk through it more easily. The numbers, the numbers are heavy. So I hope you can see the screen. I hope it is zooming enough that I can kind of walk through it. So so basically they're saying they have discovered 3.9 million, 3,900,000 ounces of gold. And for every rock, every ton of rock that they break up and they, process, they expect to get 1.37 grams per ton. Then they expect to process 5 million tons of rock, right? So out of that, they expect 2,200,000 ounces of gold. And even though the deposit is supposedly 3.9 million, but they're targeting for their own purposes 2,200,000. And they were talking about initially 171,000 ounces per year for 14 years. But recently, when Brett Bridges came to speak, he basically said they want to do 200 ounces per year for the first 5 years and continue with that level of production beyond the 14 years. Okay. Then he mentioned that the operating cost is 1,500. I mean, for every ounce of gold that they produce, they are spending 1,500. That's the operating cost, the operating expenditures. Then he capped it in terms of the price they will sell at 2,700 per ounce. But right now, the gold market is at 3,400, 3,500. But let's just keep it at his number, the 2,700. Then what he's saying, post-tax, after the revenue is taxed, they expect a net present value of 4 times the capital expenditure, the CapEx, right? That means the project is worth 4 times more than what it will cost to build and run in terms of the net profit. That means it's very, very profitable. And like he said, 300 million to 400 million free cash flow every year after costs and taxes during full production. So after, they take out all the costs, their costs and everything, and then they take out the taxes from the government of Liberia, they'll be making 300 to 400 million dollars a year. That's significant. Okay. So we're clear now. In summary, the key assumptions: gold production, 200,000 ounces a year. The gold price, 2,700 per ounce. The operating cost, 1,500 per ounce. The mine life, we cap it at 14 years. The construction investment will be $400 million. Okay, so that then when we look at what the revenue will be now, it will be this 200,000 ounces per year times the gold price, which is $2,700, times the mine life, which is 14 years. That will be 7,560,000 if they, operate at that level. And then the cost, okay, based on that same 1,500 cost, 200 ounces production in 14 years, it will be 4.2 million. I mean 4.2 billion. So their lifetime profit, gross profit is 3.36 billion. That's a lot of money, folks. That's a lot of money. And that's why we're trying to look at it in a detailed fashion on what it means. Because when you look at the concession agreement, which was actually between Hummingbird and the government of Liberia, I think I do have a copy here. Let me just share that briefly so people can know that this exists. It's not a fake thing that's happening. We actually have a contract with Hummingbird, and hopefully our people need to stop sharing. I'm trying to find a screen to stop sharing. Right here. Let me stop sharing. Okay, we have a contract with Hummingbird, and we need to understand it a little bit just so we can see at a high level what the government has placed in that contract. So we'll share a Chrome tab. Concession in the case of Hummingbird. Okay, there we go. There's a contract. It was approved in March 26, 2019 between the government of Liberia and Hummingbird Resources. But the date was January 10th, 2019, the same year. So it took 3 months to get it. And these contracts are extensive, lots of pages. This one has 129 pages. Lots of fluff is in it too. But you have to go through it to see the different like the fee schedule, the equity, the tax rate, the stuff. So if you do a search, for example, if I do a Control F and say equity, okay, and we go through all the equity options, we'll see the 3%, the 10%, 10% equity from the government of Liberia. So the government of Liberia has 10% equity free carry. That means just the fact that is our goal. You see right here, interest of the government in the company shareholders agreement. Government shall receive free of charge, I mean free carry or carry equity interest in the company's operations equal to 10% of its authorized issued and outstanding share capital existing at any time and from time to time without dilution under any circumstances. So we're carrying a 10% equity in this particular business. And generally, that's higher. That equity ownership is higher. It's usually between like 15 to 20, 25% based on the kind of negotiations countries go through for the asset. Royalty, you'll find it probably at 3%. And you see, royalty means such payment made to the government on all the company's mineral product sales. And for this, folks, we're talking about only gold right now. But actually, we know there will be many, many other minerals in that area. So the whole idea of, like you can see here for the gold, the royalty rate shall be 3%. All other minerals, the royalty rate shall be in accordance with the revenue code. So our revenue code probably has a percentage for each of those different rare earth minerals, rare earth elements that are in our ground. And I have not seen a lot of that from all the different mining companies that exist, all the other minerals that they get. I don't really see real reporting around it. So there's a lot of gaps in our mining sector, folks. It's not today, it didn't start today, it didn't start just from the last government. It's been there for a while. It's an institutional thing that hopefully, if this government is serious about transparency and building the lives of our people, they will unravel. There's some other concerns, some other people who have been in the sector. They talk about other factors that affect what the returns to Liberia is, because when a company can increase its expenses and reduce the profit, our country get less. So there's transfer pricing, there's ring fencing, and we elaborate a little bit on those those things and how they impact the bottom line of the company on paper, when actually most of that money is either going to some associate, some subsidiary, or people within the company itself. So um, we are not getting value for our mineral resources. It's unfortunate, but it's just the reality. And we need experts at the table with these negotiations, or patriots who have the country at heart, to be able to negotiate these things in the best interest of our country. Because right now, for most of these concessions, it has not happened. And some of them have been illegal in terms of how they were ratified, in terms of some of the clauses in them and all of that. So we'll go back and now look at the spreadsheet again. We'll stop sharing here. And then so yeah, so like we said, we had the breakdown now, right? So we look at the summary again. The revenue would be 7.5 million, and when we spread that over the time period, let's say we just assume everything will be level, they will get their 200 ounces, we equate to $540 million every year for 14 years, right? They claim their operating cost will be about $4.2 billion. Okay, that's the operating cost. So if that's real, let's assume that's real. I don't know what rate we're getting it at, right? Because you look for local content, where meaning this company is spending 300 million every year. What percentage of that money should come to Liberia? Typically, countries will demand 30% of that business should come to Liberians. Over time, I haven't seen a 30% of operating expenditures being dedicated or committed to local entrepreneurs in Liberia. I don't even see our country preparing different entrepreneurs in that space. Okay, so this company is coming. This is their projected expenses. They say they will use 1 million on carbo. They will use 10 million on rocks. They will use 20 million on food. They will use 30 million on this. Break that down, and we expect Liberian companies to get, that's a set aside. For example, in the US, they got set aside for different minority group, whether it's women, whether it's disabled veterans, whether it's just regular retired veterans, whether it's minority, black, um, Hispanic or whatever. So all of those are set aside. We don't have a clear set aside policy. If you look across some of the different concessions contracts, concessions rather, you will see that what is the royalties, it will be different in some of them. What is the equity, it could be different in some of them. The local content, there's no standard. We need to revert that or reverse all of those and be able to set standards for our people. So out of this 4.2 billion, we don't even know if we can get 210 million in terms of $15 million a year for Liberian companies. So this is something that the government needs to look into if we want Liberians to be a part of this gold boom that is happening today, right? Right now, the government should be engaging B Mountain and MNG to see what the local content activities are. Contracts can be renegotiated. Nobody say just go cancel contracts or concessions, right? But we are saying the government has to seek the interest of the people and look at these things more closely. Then when we come to community development, I don't even think we have a sovereign wealth fund for all these things that these companies should be contributing to. Okay. And I don't know if we have a fund for the environmental restoration. I know our EPA is charging people and stuff, but if these people are paying this money up front, where we know even if you mess up our stuff, this fund will be used to restore our ecosystem, or as we progress within this mining process, as you turn over, 5 million tons of rocks every year. Once you leave that area, this fund will be used to try to restore that area to either turn it into something, whether it could be residential, whether it could be business, whether it could be agriculture, but put it into useful productivity so that the destruction of our, landscape due to mining is not so drastic and so evident, especially with climate change coming and other things happening across in the world, and specifically in Liberia, where we have the tropical rainforest, the largest tropical rainforest in West Africa. So how all this mining activity impacts that, we don't know, because, for example, the land space for this, it has been anywhere they estimate from 2,000 kilometers square all the way to 7,000 kilometers square. Those are the different estimates, and that's a significant area that could be. I would like to do the math, but I'll be talking as I try to convert kilometers square to acres, or to acres. We're not doing farming, so I will not go to hectares. I will stick with acres so it can be more relevant to people. So that's the whole local content piece there, right? Then when we talk about the community development, we see what the what do you call it, a social development fund or community social development fund that ArcelorMittal gives to the county. Sometimes the county leadership, or they don't use it for the right purposes, or sometimes it's so difficult for them to get it. Sometimes people personalize it because the man is from a different, political party, so we're not giving them the money. You're affecting the county, you're affecting the people. So that mindset has to be changed, and we got to seek more in terms of these corporate social responsibility expectations we have of this company, and upfront what they are giving our people and what they are using the money for. Many of the, especially the smaller contracts and concessions that some of these Chinese people come with, other people come with, the community don't get it. They will promise well, they will promise school, they will promise this, and they never get it. It's very disappointing that our people are landowners for all this wealth, but they don't benefit. Then, the equity in this thing, we talk about equity, we say 10% equity. All right. So the value for us in everything that comes on an annual basis, when we look at it over the 14 years, it's 226 million. But are we getting that equity share in terms of payments, or in terms of the value of the company as it increases over time? Do we cash in our shares? What is the government doing with equity? Over the years, I have not seen how we have used our equity in these different mining and in different concessions to benefit our people. So it's time that you know the government really looks at how the people can benefit from their natural resources. It's very important. We are not supposed to be this, desolate, this poor in terms of our people and how they are living. Because we look at all these different concessions. If we're to even benefit this based on these numbers here, 1.38 billion over 14 years from these people is significant dollars for the Liberian people. The tax on this stuff, if the gross profit is going to be nearly 204 million 800,000 a year, if that tax rate is actually 25%, that's 51 million every year that government is getting. And if you look at this company that's coming, Hummingbird is already here. because they have a concession. Then this other Zodiac gold, when they come, we don't know what their production is. Plus what we are seeing from the other companies, they can really apply a radar to those numbers and be able to get something for it. That's significant money. 51 million from 4 or 5 different companies. Okay, that's what? That's 200 million. Okay, added to our national budget, that's significant. Is it being used for the people? That's the question. So at the end of the day, we have our equity in it. So um, we talk about value addition too, right? Is there any money being put aside, like a fund, to commit to value addition? Why can't we process gold in Liberia? So that means instead of that raw gold price of 3,400, it probably doubles or triples that based on value addition. So we need to really look at these things as Liberians and be able to change our current economic, our current social situation with our people. You look in some of these communities, the conditions the people work in, the conditions they live in, they are just horrible, very horrible. And hopefully government can really consider, especially this government now, with this gold boom going on. Actually it's just a mineral resource boom that's going across right now. We see the things that Donald Trump is doing in terms of saying he's all about trade. So it's very important that we as a people start looking at these things and being able to no. I just see your question, Kiva. um, as of right now, our share of profit, we're supposed to have 10% equity. Other people get more in terms of their share. So somehow we need our government to improve on its negotiation skills and getting these people. Because even if you watch the video, I'll try to put the link in here for people to see. If you watch the video of what the guy is saying, he admits indirectly that yes, they really need to look at you know the rates that the government is charging in terms of, or government is taking from them in terms of equity, in terms of profit, in terms of local content and everything, because our people are dying, our people are starving. We need better representation at these tables, the negotiation tables, so our people can benefit. This is interview on what's the name of the group? Well, it's a gold mining um, chat. So that's the YouTube link, um, and then the link for the yeah. I will share the link. Oh yeah, there we go. So there's a Facebook video. You can watch it at your convenience. It's a and this information really shares, what these guys are thinking. Yes, at the end of the day, any CEO, their focus is to increase their shareholder equity. They want to um, get as much profit, be as profitable as they can. But we are in a situation where we can dictate some of the terms as the country that has a significant gold deposit that's well known. So hopefully our government can look at this and be able to negotiate better for us. I don't want to prolong this because sometimes this can be technical and can be overwhelming. But we have a lot of opportunities coming up. If these companies can create jobs for Liberian people, now we know these companies are coming. What are the different areas? We have had mining concessions over the years, but now if we had a good labor statistics department, we should be preparing our people to say, look, this company is coming. 2,000 kilometers square. They expect to do a mine of this size that will be producing XYZ. All those metrics exist, may not be in Liberia, but they exist. A mine of this size, of this production, would need this amount of employees. So is it 80% Liberian that will be participating from an employment perspective? What are those numbers? So these are all the things we need to be focused on. And then we got a Bureau of Concessions that has not been effective in monitoring these concessions and ensuring that the Liberian government gets a share. They go when issues are raised or communities raise issues, they go there. Even their own lawmakers of these communities, they go there, they get a brown envelope and they return, and nothing happens. We really, really hope that under this government, those things can change because there is so much potential. And it's not like your natural resources last forever, they do expire. How do we build up into a knowledge economy that we can shift into other things that our people can be trained, to do other things in the service sector, increase our efforts in agriculture and expand our tourism. It takes us to build our infrastructure. So we need the money from these things to be able to do all of these things. So, hopefully people in government can listen. They were just a short spurt to discuss the situation about us benefiting from our goal. There's a huge opportunity for us as Liberians with two major mines wanting to come here and start operation over the next 2, 3 years. And it's up to us to prepare our people to be ready to be absorbed into the job market, to be a part of this, the vendors to be prepared to provide for these different companies, start with early engagement, anticipation, shortlisting companies that can provide for them, and not let foreign companies come and take all this money, because that's where capital flight is. That's where you know illicit funds come in and stuff like that. So it's just important that we do these things. And we're talking about ring fencing and transfer pricing, yes. So um, the ideal ring fencing comes when companies create um, so many additional costs to what the real cost is. So you ring fence, that means you limit what the company can do in terms of what it can use as offsets to the revenue generated in your country. Because let's say the mine is in Grange there, and these folks, they are trying to explore another mine in Nimba, and the expenses from that mine, they come and bring it under this to reduce the cost. It should not be that way. Or even if they were doing something in Guinea, they should not include those Guinean costs into this cost. So that's why you got to ring fence. And most of our contracts or our concessions don't have ring fencing clauses, which does not limit the losses that these people can take from other projects and bring it, into another project or into the project that's actually um, within the jurisdiction of where they have their concession. That means when they're calculating our taxable or their taxable income, the income is way reduced. So if you look at, if it's supposed to be 100 million and they calculate it to be 50 million, so if we're taking 25% of that, then what are we getting? Instead of the 25%, which would have been, you know, 25 million out of the 100 million. Now we're getting much less, right? Half of that, 12.5, which is crazy. Then transfer pricing is a little bit more sophisticated, right? Because many of these companies have subsidiaries, or they can make arrangements to sell below market price. Okay. And then when they do that, it limits our own ability as a country again to monitor them, because let's say they have an affiliate who on paper they say they're selling the gold to, let's say this 2,700, or now that the gold is 3,500, they sell it to them for 2,009, 3,000, right? So that $500-600 that we're losing in terms of possible taxation and the other benefits that we'll get from each dollar. So the taxes reduce, the royalty reduce, because all of those on profits, and then that increases the capital flight. That means we are losing revenue. So all of those things can happen. They could just get some fake consultants and charge huge management fee, consulting fees, okay, for services from subsidiaries or companies of theirs, and we don't get anything from it. Or let's say that loan to start a business, that $400 million capital expenditure to start the business, they could get that loan from a subsidiary or some group within their own company, right? It could be probably a zero interest loan or 3%, 4%, but they can tell us a 14% interest rate. So I mean their payback could be 3, 4 times what the actual payback should be, right? So all of those things are factors that our people need to look at. And we do have Liberian expertise. We do have knowledgeable Liberians who can detect these things. But for many of them, the few I've talked to, the system kick them out. The system don't want them in there because they're saying, you know, that's not how we're doing business here. So our mining sector needs to really be looked at. We need to change some of the things, some of the rates, and get up to international standards and be able to let our people see the impact of the money. Because you go to Cape Mount today, the people there in the B Mountain area, they don't feel like they're getting any impact from B Mountain. They don't feel they're getting returns for all the gold they take out of Cape Mount. And Cape Mount is, gold rich. So now they go into the suffers. And then another possibility again, we've been talking about the whole port, the National Port Authority situation where they're trying to decentralize and give each county their own port ownership. Those people will not be shipping the gold from Tucson or wherever all the way to Monrovia or to National Port Authority. Most likely the Sino port will need to be rehabilitated and be revitalized into a thriving opportunity because stuff will be coming in for the mining companies and the gold will be going out. Plus, lumber and other stuff, they will start, doing some work over there. Who says somebody can open a wonderful sawmill down in that area, the southeast there, with a very, very good reforestation program? It's possible. So the opportunities are huge. It's up to our leadership, our government, to take advantage of it, get the right kind of investors here, negotiate the right deals, and make sure that the simple things, the fundamental things are happening for our people. They can get jobs, they can be able to meet their daily needs. The housing situation can improve, the sanitation situation, the water situation can improve, the electricity can improve. All of these arrangements with these firms, in coming in, part of that can be included, but it's about government monitoring and ensuring that those things actually happen for the benefit of the people. So, I want to thank you all for listening. If people want to call me, my number is here. I can share my number. I don't mind sharing. You can call me on WhatsApp. Or regular. What's the plus, huh? Yeah, that's a plus. 1-301-655-5984. Because we do have some experts out there. They can call me. You can call WhatsApp. You can call regular. If you got questions or if you got information to add to this, because unfortunately, a lot of people are hesitant to chime into these kind of discussions because they feel sometimes maybe they could get targeted or whatever. But I think this government should be open because this is stuff that's coming in, and the existing concessions that are out there, they can be modified, they can be looked at. It's all for the betterment of the legacy that if President Boyka can really get into this and be an active part of this, he can move the needle in terms of development. We really, really need it. So I guess none of y'all got questions. Nobody calling, nobody texting to say they have a specific question. So we'll leave it at that. There'll be more discussions. Hopefully, once people see this, there will be I'm inclined to say, look, let's have a deeper discussion on either you're wrong about everything you said. Let's go back and analyze it, and that's no problem with me. It's all about learning process, but the numbers are obvious. The gold sector is on a boom. Liberia is, positioned very well to significantly benefit from this boom, especially if we have the foresight to start to look at it from a value addition perspective. What is the cost of that 1 ounce of gold? That's 3,700 in Liberia. If you add value to it, you process it, where will it be on the world market? So those are some of the things we need to look at, and not only for gold, but for other areas. So thank you, Dustanet. Thank you for your feedback. It's appreciated. And we hope other people feel the same way. Our idea is to share knowledge for people to be more empowered, because once you get the data, you transfer the information, and you can oh, that's very interesting topic. And you can convert it into knowledge, then a lot more people benefit. So this La Victor Sharif asks, talk about the kind of businesses to do in Liberia. Um, you see, I'm a little biased, but I think the low hanging fruit in Liberia is the agricultural sector. Um, our labor in the agricultural sector is kind of cheap, you know. The inputs for we got wonderful climate. I have been an advocate of greenhouses, especially for crops, not tree crops or food crops. So the opportunity there, and the value chain is not developed. You know, you got some people growing. Value addition is close to non-existent for most of the food. Then you got people who should be marketing. You got people who should be doing distribution. So um, I've called on government so many times to get the data. We don't even know who are farmers. We don't have a definition for a farmer, right? And we need to define that. If we know who's a farmer and what that standard is, then we have a starting point. Then we start to collect the data from the farmer. They do the necessary soil analysis, because that's a responsibility of government. If you go to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, they can give you all the different kinds of soils around the country. Okay, all the farms, we need to know the sizes. We need to know the farmers. We need to know the staffing. We need to know what they want to grow, what time they want to grow, their potential harvest time, and everything. We need to have a good grasp of our agriculture sector. Then, in the same token, we need market development people. There are places out there that need the stuff we can grow or the stuff we're already growing. Okay, the cassava is one of the most flexible plants. It has so many different applications and uses. Whether it's at as gari, whether it's as cassava flour, whether it is you can use it for multiple purposes, and people need it. People need it for starch. Starch is a big business as well. People need it for cereal. So if we can just find a market out there, and then we improve our own processing and certification processes, where once we can grow these things, we can process it, we can add value, then we can package properly for shipment. We out there. Our butter pear is needed. People call it avocado. Yeah, one little piece is expensive. Even yet, or the 5 pound bag of cassava is like $8. And I was selling this a couple of months ago. I sold to one of the cassava aggregators. 1 kg or a 25 kilogram bag. Yes, 25 kilogram in our bag. We stack it up so it weigh more than 25 kilogram most likely. Because when I'm doing weight, 800 Liberian dollars, not even $2. So when you process that, how many pounds? Because the raw 25 kilogram, if you say 2.2, that's nearly 52 pounds. Okay, and if you're charging $8 for 5 pounds, so that 10 there times 8, $80. $80 to 800 Liberian dollars. But you put the other additional cost, the processing cost, the packaging, the shipment, you will probably come to $3 per, per 5 pound. So you're getting a significant amount of margin on that. So we are able to do it as Liberians. That's one of the key places. Another place I think there's a huge potential is in the service sector, but with our infrastructure is a major challenge. But if somebody can do the upfront investment, where they got 24/7 electricity, and one or two people I know on the ground do have that now. The call center is a major opportunity for Liberia, or the business process outsourcing. Look at what President Trump did for us. Yes, in his ignorance, not to know that we speak English and we speak proper English, we speak good English for the most part. Uh, he put us on the map with English. So now, if we had that opportunity to be able to walk in the door of many of these firms that have customer services out there, man, say, the other man really want for me to go do research. But if you just do a simple breakdown of Liberia GDP, you can probably get a decent percentage. Yeah. Ooh. There's a good chart. Let me share this. Let me share this. That's a very good question though, because we have not been tracking the breakdown. Again, that's another thing. Like I said before, data. And if we will have these statistics, available for most of our people to be able to see them, so now you can they say Megan to, but this is a great question, and to see the evolution and for us to predict what's coming. What will be our focus in terms of our development and our investment? What areas will we expect, mining? So they got mining and painting all in one in this particular imagery. Let me share it with you. And this is just rough, folks. So it's not. So I don't know if you guys can see it. This is the percentage on the left in terms of sectoral contribution. As you guys can see, our service sectors, and this is up to 2017, but with this, Sam has piqued my curiosity here. I think I will try to dive deeper into this to see the trend in terms of the breakdown or the sector contribution for our GDP over the years. But you can see how the sector in 2007, the services sector was high, mining was low, and you can just see the gradual increase. And then in 8, 9, 10, 2011, 2012, 2013, this whole mining thing that he's talking about is booming. Right now, these numbers seem to be rising again. I don't know whether this 2014, 2015 was COVID, and then subsequently probably, no, it was Ebola, then probably subsequently COVID, or probably just the market impact. But these are important things for us to be able to analyze as, people who talk in business, people who want to attract investment. So thank you for the question, Sam. We need to do more work. And one of the things I want to focus on too is the data, the agriculture data. We really, really need agriculture data because, we can say, oh, government want plant lowland rice, 100,000 hectares and produce X. We don't even know how much rice we really consuming in the country. We know some of the importation coming. We don't know all the importation because they're not tracking some of the one that coming in containers. Because people do import a lot of parboiled rice too. Okay, we don't really know what's being grown, what the size of the different farms, what's the productivity, to see how interventions can be made in terms of whether is it pesticide, is it herbicide? Is it fertilizer that people need? One of the key inputs for some of these farmers. I mean, are they starting off bad? Do we test the soil to know what the pH level for wherever they want to grow? So there needs to be a lot of extension services when it comes to farming. And you only can do that if you have the necessary data, you have a clear definition of who's a farmer, you know who's farming, you know their land space, you know, you get some history of their production, and then be able to say if they're doing crop rotation or other things. So you able to project in terms of the market. I mean, another area is poultry, eggs, chicken. Sam, look, I saw something where the typical Liberian eats 11 eggs the entire year. Just imagine, 365 days, the typical Liberian only eat 11 eggs. And there are many other products like that. And probably because of the people income. We need to create jobs. We need to elevate our people that they can be able to afford these things. So that's why many of us, we're not supposed to be the size we are. We are undernourished. 40% of children typically are undernourished in Liberia. If you supposed to be eating 3 times a day, eating 1 time a day, how do you think you will really grow to your right size? Then it says tight, tight, tight. I was tight myself. Okay, I grew after 21. I probably grew like 2 inches after 21. You know, I was probably like 5'9", going 5'10" when I came to the US. And now I'm 5'11", 3/4. So unfortunately, that happens. And sometimes people die from lack of nutrition and the kind of food we eat. So there's a lot of education necessary, but the opportunities are huge for Liberian businesses. And then the Liberianization, I did a piece on Liberianization before. All the different sectors area, especially too in this whole stationary effort. But our government has to help us, right? Because the Lebanese people, the Indian people, and other people use fronts. But you can detect front because that Lebanese and Indian man, he will not let that Liberian man own his bank account. His own name will be on our bank account, or his signature will be on it. So there's so many ways to detect it, but it takes data. It takes us being able to access the business registry for any business to see who the key people. It takes us having access to the banks to have their bank account information for people. And this is government, this is confidential information, right? So it has to be government that's doing these things, that building these systems, that speak to each other, that are able to extract data. They have the right application programming interface, the API, to extract that data from other people. So that's a lot we can do, folks, if only our leaders, our people in position, the gatekeepers are open to embracing all the talent we have, both on the ground. There's a lot of smart, don't let anybody fool you. There's a lot of smart and competent people on the ground too. Unfortunately, they are sidelined, they are not involved. And then in the diaspora, we do have abundance of expertise as well. But it takes a committed leadership that wants to integrate, that wants to bring people together and not see us as separate to be able to do that. So wonderful questions. Thank you all. And, we'll be talking very soon again. Take care. Have a wonderful evening. Goodbye.